Hello, everybody. How are we doing? Are we restful? Are we ready for some nonsense? Thank you. Oh, shit. You can hear me? Fuck. I thought I was talking to myself. And I swore in the first minute, YouTube is not going to show my stream on the, on the short thing. But that's okay. We are here. Right. Why is that like that? Give me a second. There you go. No more nonsense on the side. Hello, Tone. Good morning, good afternoon, or evening, unless you're Carrie. Then good night. Indeed, since Carrie got a new job, she can't be watching me. It's incredibly sad. Hello, you tops. How you doing, PJ? Bianca, what's up? What's up with Frando? Yeah, I think the most important gang is here, so let's begin. I'm not entirely sure what to think of this news, but lately seems like all around the world, basically, the beef industry is becoming more expensive and there are less beef cows. It's like the beef industry is a complex thing that I wouldn't pretend to understand its ins and outs. But we're going to try to understand some today. This, of course, excludes the beef coming from the dairy herds, I guess. I don't know, because the demand is still very high, but the supply is shit. So I just don't know what to think of this, but we're gonna go through it a little bit. So why is the price I'm paying for steak going up and up? This is actually kind of dishonest of the person who wrote this thing, because he's like some kind of a analyst in the beef industry, and the entire article is I don't know if he's an analyst or something, but the entire article is about the prices of beef cattle in the industry itself. They're not really talking about how the prices are at the steak level. So it's kind of weird. Anyways, there's a read, but also there is a listen. So let's listen first and then give it another read.
You may not be the kind of person who pays too much attention to
Can you hear that? Let me know.
mart prices, but something very interesting that is going to have an impact on all of us is underway at the moment. The prices being paid for beef here have hit record levels, multiples of what they were a few years ago. Great news if you're in the business of beef production, not so much if you're in the habit of eating beef. And a large part of that price shift is because of a sharp fall in supply in the UK. Yesterday, I spoke to James Little from Harrison and Hetherington Mart in Carlisle in the north of England, just before he headed over here on a buying trip. He believes that the price paid for beef has passed through a threshold and it's not coming back down again.
I guess since the start of 2025, to coin a phrase, I suppose it's skyrocketed, hasn't it? Week on week, we see record highs. Then it's a record for 7 days and we go again. It's, amazing, really.
Why is it happening?
Supply and demand. The cattle numbers dramatically reduced and have done over a significant period of time now. And I suppose we've got to, in some ways, you would call it a perfect storm. In others, you would call it a bit of a disaster, really, where there isn't enough cattle available to satisfy the demand.
What is it?
So as far as I'm understanding, again, it's hard to understand because there are so many points in the line there between the birth of an animal, basically, and the dead corpse in plastic, right? So as far as I'm understanding, there are several things that happened that made farmers reduce the amount of animals they buy to exploit and slaughter. But the demand is the same or higher. And therefore, the beef farmers or the plant producers, I suppose, the slaughterhouses who are buying beef and then selling it to the markets, feel totally okay to mark up the price. I think that's what's happening, but I'm not sure. We're gonna go through it together and see if we can figure it out. Over the hills as far and far away. What's up? Thank you. God bless. Whatever. I'm not religious, anti-theist here, but you're welcome to stay and give us blessings and stuff. Maybe some people will pick them up. Let's just say.
That has happened to reduce this supply?
Pretty simple, really. Over the last number of years, government policy, pricing structures, overheads have all led to farmers reducing their suckler herds. There's less cows across the UK now. Yeah, we're at a point where we're not.
So less cows are bred. That's, I think, good news. So less animals to endure the suffering of being bred and treated as such in order to be slaughtered in these 2 years' time. You can't put a price on the life anyway. Yeah, I know. So I just want to go back a little bit though. I want to hear what the person who's talking says, why it happened.
Time now, and I suppose we've got to, in some ways you would call it a perfect storm, in others you would call it a bit of a disaster really, where there isn't enough cattle available to satisfy the demand.
What is it that has happened to reduce this supply?
Pretty simple, really. Over the last number of years, government policy, pricing structures, overheads have all led to
So government policy, I think this is in the UK and maybe specifically in Ireland, but I can't be sure. They probably say it somewhere. The government policy is to reduce beef for environmental reasons in it. We read about this at some point. And then, is it feed prices or input prices, he calls it? So inputs are feed, water, infrastructure, shit like that. Probably things like vaccines and supplementation, shit like that. And then overhead something. Fuck. I'm gonna go back
again. Enough cattle available to satisfy the demand.
What is it that has happened to reduce this supply?
Pretty simple, really. Over the last number of years, government policy, pricing structures, overheads have all led to...
I don't know what overheads are. So, yeah.
Farmers reducing their suckler herds. There's less cows across the UK now. Yeah, we're at a point where we're not producing enough beef.
How many have you lost? How many?
I mean, I think enough beef is per demand for sure, but even one cow is too much beef in my book. I know people will agree with me in the chat, but those who actually demand the animal slaughter would disagree. They want more beef. So I don't know. Something should start very seriously advertising some kind of a replacement, I think.
Fewer cattle are you seeing going through your ring?
In our outlying markets in hill areas, and they solely rely on beef production from suckler herds. I would say in the last 2 to 3 years, we've probably seen it drop somewhere in the region of 20 to 25%.
I think by suckling herds, it means, well, it could be anyone, couldn't it?
Carlisle on Saturday had a large sale of solely suckler bred beef calves, 12 months old. The number was 712 sold.
So yeah, I think that means the beef industry and not the dairy industry, because in the beef industry, the calves actually stay with the mother. It's like free food. So like about 40% of the beef industry is just mothers who get impregnated, and then they're raising their calves. And then those calves, when they're grown up enough, they go to feedlots, and the cycle continues. So about 40% of the beef industry is just like mothers who are in a cycle of being impregnated again and again. So by suckling herds, he does mean, and when he says as 12 months old, he does mean, I think, the beef industry, not the dairy.
Go back 20 years when I first started in here, it was a 2-day event with 1,000 bullocks and 1,000 heifers. So in 20 years, we're, somewhere around 66% back, I would say.
Why do you think that the ground has shifted and that this is a permanent change in the price structure?
It shifted because the abattoirs are now looking at producers, and it's got very, very competitive.
So I hate the way farmers talk turkey. Sorry for the non-vegan idiom there. They talk in these shorthands that are incredibly unclear to the regular people, right? So what the fuck does he mean by
6% back, I would say?
Why do you think that the ground has shifted and that this is a permanent change in the price structure?
It shifted because the abattoirs are now looking at producers.
What does it mean by the abattoirs are now looking at producers? And then it doesn't finish the sentence, right? So there is no clarity there. But I bet the person interviewing him did understand what he means, because they have their own language. It's kind of like a cult. I think beef prices are rising due to higher feed costs and supply issues. Well, that was the beginning a few years ago when various wars has started, and that brought up the price of feed and made it harder for the people who raise the animals or who bring animals to feedlot. So you gotta understand something. So the supply chain is incredibly weird when it comes to beef, right? So there are places, there are operations that impregnate the cows and allow them to feed the calves until a certain point. And then they sell those calves to another place that feeds them. So like a feedlot, or even like, I don't know, grassland or whatever, but it's a different place, right? So one place specializes with breeding them, another place specializes with them with finishing them, so meaning bringing them to slaughter weight, and then they sell them again. So those animals are like bought and sold like slaves from one place to another. They sold to the processing plants, slaughterhouses, who are basically the ones who end up selling it to the retailers and shit like that. So like, I think the slaughterhouses, that's me trying to understand this. I think the slaughterhouses are the ones that are in the end making the demand of the price that the dumbass who's buying the corpse, like Alfacaros, that's what they're gonna pay. How much the slaughterhouse wants you to pay Alfacaros. And vegans also have their own cult-like language, for example, word like carnis, that are used to describe non-cult members. But you can find the word carnist online and what it means, and I can tell you what it means. The way farmers talk is completely... There is no dictionary. You can't find it online. except for in that language. So that's what makes us a cult, right? We can't be a cult because we're incredibly open about our language. We can tell you what a carnist means. We can tell you what a Malzoan means, the way Tone called it. Yeah. So, to the point that Over the Hills made, yes, it started with feed. So the feed was expensive for the first two places. The places that feed the mothers, who then feed the calves, the small calves. And then the second one, the feedlots or the finishing operations, again in quotes. Their prices got jacked up. And that caused some of those operations to reduce their herds. And since they're reducing their herds, now the plants are kind of jacking the slaughterhouses, basically, are jacking the price up. That's my understanding of it. I might be wrong. Let's continue listening.
And it's got very, very competitive. They're all vying over vastly reduced number of cattle, which makes the price go one way, which is up.
What is happening here, James? Are the suckler farmers getting out of farming altogether, or are they just really reducing their numbers to a bare minimum?
I think it's a bit of both. The average age of farmers just goes up and up as years go by.
Yeah, the young people are not interested in those industries because those industries, unless you inherit them, and even people who grow up in them don't want to inherit them, right? Sometimes they don't want to deal with that shit because there are so much better ways making money. You can go study and enter the tech world if you have any kind of brains, right? Even people with very little brains can just enter the tech world that pays exponentially more, and you don't have to be this, elbow deep in shit all day, basically, figuratively and literally. That, by the way, also means that the plant farmers are not really interested in continuing as well. So plant farming should find solutions as well. I don't want to paint it as if our food future is not in danger here as well.
Local farming is a dangerous industry, so there's a little bit of getting older. Have the cows been worth the hassle? Have they been paying the bills? Slowly and gradually, we have seen people coming out of the sucklers entirely or vastly reducing them.
Okay, but it does mean that if herds aren't being sold in their entirety, that guys could technically or theoretically build their numbers back up again and bring that price back down, or do you not think that that's likely?
I don't think it's likely. I can't see people having the capital to go out and purchase cattle at the prices they are.
So the places that, breed the baby cows, the calves, are now jacking up the prices as well. So the middleman, the person in the middle who feeds them to slaughter weight, they basically can't afford neither the feed nor the prices of the people who breed the cows. So it's kind of, because animal agriculture is so fucking complicated, it's really hard to understand how all the lines go, all the lines of supply go, right? And because it's basically they do what the fuck they want, right? So the first guy, the one who is elbow deep in cow anuses, creating the baby cows, needs to feed the mothers, right? And the mothers who produce milk eat more. Feed costs more. Therefore, he's trying to sell the calves that cost them more for more money to the middle guy who's supposed to bring them to fucking fruition. which is of course slaughter. And the price continues getting jacked up because the person in the middle also needs to buy feed, and it's more expensive now. And just how much garbage can you collect to feed to those cows? Not very much, right? They're dependent on either the feed that they grow themselves, which is the minority, because if you have like a huge herd, like you can't also like plow the fields. It's only the smaller producers who have like the feed fields. Or you must more likely are buying feed, right? And buying like silage and soy and corn and all that shit. And then it becomes even exponentially more expensive because you paid more for the calves and you're paying more for the feed. And now the plants are saying, well, I'm getting ahead of myself, but the slaughter plants are basically saying, okay, we want to buy it for less money. We're going to find that out in a minute, or in a while. And so the cow producers don't want to sell. So that creates another bump because now there is very little supply because there is a war between the producers and the slaughterhouse plants, slaughter plants. And the prices of whatever beef already is are going up because the plant wants their share, so they're demanding more money for it.
There's a few guys in here trying to buy bulling heifers on a Wednesday out the store market. They just can't handle the price. You know, that the demand from the finishers round the ring, it far outweighs the demand from breeding herds.
James Little in Carlisle. I'm joined in studio by Ray Doyle from ICOS, the Irish Co-op's representative body. Ray would represent the livestock marts at a national level. Good morning, Ray. How are you? Price in this country is just kind of bumping underneath €8.
Don't squeezed from both ends. It's great. Yeah, I hope it continues this way, but I think it won't, actually. I think it always rebounds, right? And because the demand is so high, if the demand was lower, if people were en masse, even moving to another type of meat or whatever, the beef industry could start dying slow or fast death, right? Because they are in a catch-22 kind of situation. Being covered and surrounded by shit all day isn't a lot of fun. Yeah. Didn't we calculate that those places produce more shit than anything else? It's the #1 produce. Shit. Supermarket greed will ensure the pressure stays on farmers to make no money. Yeah, but then what happens? Wouldn't the governments like intervene and like subsidize the fuck? Wouldn't it create what happened to dairy in the US in the 19 whatevers, in the early days of the 19th century? It could create this situation where the government bails beef out and then they start overproducing and the government start buying beef, buying off, more and more beef. And they're going to flood not only the UK market, but other foreign markets as well with UK beef for cheaper price, or try to preserve it somehow, which like increases cancer, but whatever. Yeah, it could actually like backfire and like reduce beef prices and incentivize beef producers to overproduce. I hope the governments learned their lesson from what's happened in with dairy in the US, but fuck knows. Oh, sorry if you hear that. You are unlucky. Supermarket greed, yeah. a smart government would subsidize only vegan food. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's the thing. Bean producers should seize the day. Tofu producers should seize the day. They should start rolling out ads, presenting themselves as the new beef. For real, I'm not even joking. In those words, beans are the new beef. It's comparable.
A kilo. Give me a frame of reference for that. How much was it 2 years ago?
2 years ago, a little over €4 a kilo was the norm, plus bonuses in the meat factories. And at a live level, from the mart's point of view, we sell obviously cattle live. €2 a kilo would have been a good price for most store cattle going into finishing units. Now it's €4 a kilo.
Okay, so doubled in that time. What component of that is the record prices being paid in the UK?
It's a significant component of it. Almost 50% of our beef that we produce in Ireland ends up in the UK, multiple shelves. And year on year.
So they produce beef in Ireland, where then, okay, and I think I understand. So that it's the issue with UK. UK jacks up the prices somehow. And a significant amount, 50% of the Irish beef is sold to or in the UK. It depends on how you fucking flip that plant burger.
UK government policies has diminished UK farming. I was discussing this with UK farmers only this summer, and they have stewardship schemes in place that removes 20 to 25% of their productive land to wildflowers and biodiversity, etc. And that's all very laudable, but that's a direct hit on the production ability.
Okay, so UK gives their farmers grants for using their land in another way. Help me out let me know if I understood it correctly. To basically like kind of rewild the land and put flowers on it and shit, supposedly for bees and stuff. And so they reduce the land on which they grow beef, so raise animals for slaughter, and allocate 25% of that land to do something else instead. Tone, please let me know if I'm correct, if you are like updated on this stuff.
In this particular farm, it's a large farm, 1,000 acres, 1,000 suckler cows. He had to sell 250 of those animals.
Farmers,
So he sells the land.
anybody involved in food production is used to prices fluctuating, coming up and down. Would you share James Little's suspicion that the price has passed through a threshold now and isn't coming back down?
I would agree completely with James in that.
So according to those two people who clearly understand what they are talking about, but they speak in a language that nobody else understands, according to those two supposedly experts, the beef prices have crossed the threshold, a point of no return, and they're never gonna come back down. Am I understanding correctly? They got grants for a wild and unusable land. There was a big drive to try push farmers into agroforestry and other things, but Scotland, England, Ireland all have separate subsidy systems. I get it. Okay. So it is just a matter of yeah. I'm marinating on this thing, so let me know of your thoughts as well.
One of our lecturers, when I studied ag science, made the comment that the beef cycle was one of the longest economic cycles of commodities that we had. It was decades long.
The sheer lack of empathy calling sentient animals commodities is absolutely fucking disgusting. Those people shouldn't be allowed to interact with animals.
So now, as James says, we have simply moved up onto a new threshold, and we're perhaps on this particular positive aspect of that particular economic cycle, which
Because
lasts.
those who got out won't have the money to get back in short order.
So that's good news. But it's like, I mean, it's globally kind of bad news because, again, our agriculture, the agriculture that feeds us as vegans, is in the same predicament, at least until animal agriculture is dead. And then we'll be able to feed everybody on like 25% land. Yeah. They should be allowed to interact and grow animals, not when they think those are literal objects, Alpha Karos. I know you don't understand because you're a literal piece of shit. But non-piece of shit people understand that animals are not objects. Yeah. So I think it should be a prerequisite of, and by the way, it's not growing animals, it's raising animals. You see, you are completely objectifying them as well, Alpha Karos. You should have that checked. Those are not objects. Oh, what's up, Pijo? I'm sorry to hear.
So we're not going to see a glut of animals in 2 or 3 years' time.
No, I wouldn't think so, because at the moment what's happening in the marts, yes, the record prices are there and they're excellent for people selling. They're coming back into the market again and they're replacing them with other animals, the younger animals, because these animals now have jumped up in price as well. So they're remaining at the roulette table, for want of a better phrase.
Is this good news for the farmers who are still in beef production? Because very often, justifiably, you will hear farmers complain that they're not getting the price that is being charged in the supermarket. Are they getting this bonus?
Yes, they are, and that is the advantage of the livestock mart. They are truly getting the value when they put their animals in the livestock mart. We have seen over the last few weeks, let alone months, we have factory agents and buyers purchasing online, giving significantly more in pence per kilo for animals in the livestock auction ring than they are themselves directly at the factory gate. So in many ways the farmers are being able to avail of the fact that the mart is in effect acting almost like a producer group and giving them the true value of the animals.
The true value of the animals. Ethics aside, I think as we continue on our journey to learn, we'll find out that right now, I think maybe in Ireland as well, there is a literal war between, or maybe not literal, but like a price war between slaughterhouses and the producers. Oh, I'm sorry, Bianca, I know. It's gonna get worse, unfortunately. There are places where pictures are like that.
It's an ill wind that blows nobody some good, but I was thinking here as well about the local butchers. The supermarkets can mask any price increase in what they charge for other goods. Local butchers can't.
Well, Alpha Karos, if you don't see a problem with objectifying somebody, then you're just you're making a category error. You are failing in your logic. Wherever, if such a thing exists in you, right? You are making a category error. A living sentient animal is not an object. So objectifying somebody is putting a label and traits on them that don't align with the reality.
Can they?
No, the local butcher obviously is the first person that's now, I suppose, looking at the negative side of these high prices. But again, the cure for high prices is high prices. As James Little said earlier, we're on a new threshold, but there will come a point where it'll be an equilibrium will be reached, because
Here's the thing, the people who demand the shit are going to continue buying it, aren't they? They're just going to continue buying the more expensive stuff because, like, Americans continue buying eggs, aren't they? They're not reducing. What is wrong with people? Like, do they not know what budgeting is? Like, if I find that something in my, impedes on my budget in a way that is, like, unacceptable anymore, I'm not buying that thing anymore. I know Utops is just a dumbass.
Because again, if the prices keep going on this upward trajectory, demand will fall off. So at the moment, we don't know where this equilibrium will be, but it will be reached at some point.
The other tricky thing here might be that the climate emissions targets are based on an ever-decreasing suckler herd. And with these kind of prices, do you think, are we likely to start to see more people producing more beef calves in Ireland, placing us under an even more challenging situation to meet those emissions targets?
Oh my God, an admission of a century. Did you understand what just happened, guys? Let's go back.
And will be reached. The first person.
An ill wind that blows nobody some good. But I was thinking here as well about the local butchers. The supermarkets can mask any price increase in what they charge for other goods. Local butchers can't, can they?
No, the local butcher obviously is the first person that's now, I suppose.
Well, they're going to close. The butcher as a profession is not going to exist anymore. They're not going to be able, because they would need to jack up the prices even more. Nobody going to buy that.
Looking at the negative side of these high prices, but again, the cure for high prices is high prices. As James Little said earlier, we're on a new threshold, but there will come a point where it'll be an equilibrium will be reached.
Yeah, a new age where beef price is going to be like twice as high as it was in 2024 is coming. Because right now it's, well, he said it's twice as high, but for living animals, for the person who's buying the steak for Alfacaros, it's going to cost twice as much. And by the way, Alfacaros, this is a global movement. So, yeah.
Because again, if the prices keep going on this upward trajectory, demand will fall off. So at the moment, we don't know where this equilibrium will be, but it will be reached at some point.
The other tricky thing here might be that the climate emissions targets are based on an ever-decreasing suckler herd. And with these kind of prices, do you think, are we likely to start to see more people producing more beef calves in Ireland, placing us under an even more challenging situation to meet those emissions targets?
Well, yes, I think the suckler herd will have stabilised this year as a direct result of these high prices, because
it had been declining.
It had been declining, and it has declining since 2012, since the milk quotas had disappeared. Because at the moment we have 1.5 million dairy cows, 750,000 suckler cows. In 2012 we had 1 million of each. So this decline has been in train for well over a decade at this stage. Going back to your point on our climate change obligations, I'm sure there will plenty of innovative new solutions will actually emerge to deal with this. A little while ago, we had a major problem with poorly bred dairy calves. The advent and the widespread adoption of sex semen has more or less solved that problem. So I am confident in the science that we will actually come up with a solution that will mitigate our obligations.
Take a step back from all of this.
So in the past 10 years, both dairy and beef herds have reduced. Did I understand that correctly? To like a quarter each? Or did they say 750 beef cattle and 250? So like by half, they were cut by half. Oh, that's somewhat good news, I guess. Less animals are getting fucking tortured for dumbasses like Alfacaros.
Big picture, is this another signpost on the road to the end of the era of cheap food?
Yes, the cheap food is over. Because
it's in the rearview mirror.
It's in the rearview mirror because, again, a point I made earlier, we were looking at figures of -1% of national herds all across Europe for the last 20 years, and it didn't seem much when you compared year one with year two. But you cumulatively add that up over the last 20 years, we have eroded our supply base. And our demand continues to grow, albeit slowly.
You're absolutely right. It has been 0.5% every year. Why is it suddenly biting now? Why are we seeing these massive price increases in the space of 2 or 3 months?
Well, it's I suppose in economic in terms, there's only a 1% difference between a scarcity and a drought. And basically that's what you've seeing now. This slow erosion has led to the point of we are now in trouble with supply.
So the beef industry is basically dying. They're like breathing their last breath. That's what I'm hearing. The prices at some point are gonna go up even more and stay up, which at least should drop some demand. And then that will trigger this cycle again, right? The person talking about, oh, at some point it's going to stabilize. They're not considering the fact that now that the prices for beef that were already exuberant are doubling, at least some people are going to have the conscientiousness of stopping buying beef because it's going to be so outside of that price range. That's my prediction, at least. I'm not very smart. I could be wrong.
In conversations with some meat factory owners, they have said they have never seen it in 30 odd years where the customers are quite content to take an extra 10 cent a kilo rise next week as long as they get the product.
Ray Doyle.
Well, I'm immediately proven wrong, at least on the 10 cent. But if it continues rising, at some point it's going to reach a threshold where people are not going to demand specifically beef as much. And seriously, if the bean meat industry, the tofu industry, Jesus, get your shit together, get your money together and put up a campaign where you are proclaiming yourself as the new beef. It's going to work, at least on some people. It's gonna jack up the sales of tofu or beans and shit like that. Advertisement fucking works. That's why the beef industry sends so much money into advertising.
Doyle from ICOS, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Yeah, thanks, dumbass. Sorry, I'm growing impatient. So just over a year ago, the price of beef was hovering around €5.18 per kilogram for R3 grade steers in the factory. So again, this is a price of animals per kilogram. Fast forward in the present, the price is now hovering around 7.77 euros per kilogram for the same animal. This doesn't include bonus payments for breeds and quality and assurance, which can shove the factory price up even higher. The significant increase in beef prices has sparked much conversation within the farming sector, the real trade, and among customers. So what is behind the dramatic price shift and what are the implications? There is almost a perfect storm. We heard that shit. Meanwhile, the countries like Germany, France, and Netherlands are also seeing reduced herd sizes due to similar economic and policy-related factors. It's global shitstorm for the beef producers, and I'm personally celebrating it. Ireland, with its pasture-based system, only until they go to feedlots. And relatively efficient beef production model is in a unique position to benefit from this wider European shortfall. So they're thinking they're going to start jacking up production and exporting. That's what the Irish farmers are thinking. I saw a 3-pound chunk of meat at Waitrose the other day for almost $38. The squiggly line pounds, I guess. Quid in it. Don't know about Ireland, but beef production is well down in Scotland too. But there is an increase in pigs and chickens instead. I know. It's again. I'm very cautious with my celebration because. That's what I'm saying. It's being replaced by something. And if it's being replaced by another animal product, then there is nothing to celebrate, is there? If it's replaced by tofu, by all means. For Irish farmers, the rising beef price is a welcome development, particularly after a tough few years marked by volatile markets and escalating input costs like the prices of feed. Over the past 2 years, fertilizers prices have reached record highs due to energy crises, supply chain disruption, and war in Ukraine. Still don't fully understand the situation with the Ukraine shit. If anybody wants to explain it in, however, the 200 characters that YouTube allows. Yeah, everybody please hit like. Like is good. Like is something that is productive. Please. Feed and fuel costs also skyrocketed, further tightening already thin profit margins. Many beef farmers operate with limited economies of scale and little financial cushion, so the current uptick in beef prices has offered some much needed breathing space. Well, I hope they choke on it. All right, let's move on to a different thing. So this is, I think, also Ireland. Factories continue to talk the talk about prices needing to come back, but agents are instructed to get more numbers. So this is the fight that I was talking. Look at them. It's fucking, how the fuck can somebody kill these sweet little babies? Really needs to be like a dumbass to do that. The factories plan to cut prices as quickly as much as possible ahead of a possible fall off in numbers by mid-May appears to have run into a problem. You can't get stock if sellers won't sell. So the processors, a good word for killers, got the message out that prices were coming back. I don't know what they mean by that. Coming back down or up? You see what I mean? They talk in their own language. And that everything would have to go on the grid. And this was followed by a fall in quotes around 20 cents per kilogram 2 weeks ago. Last week, however, despite threats and quotes would fall further, quotes for bullocks and heifers stayed put at 7.4 per kilogram, and base prices remained at 7.5 to 7.7. So the living animals are weighed and are sold for this price. And then the cool cows, which I think are dairy cows, and the young bulls are now sold for these prices. I guess I'm understanding it correctly. Don't know. How can killing someone unnecessarily being replaced by killing someone else to be more or less vegan? I don't know. I don't think I made that claim, but I'm not sure what you mean by that, Tone. One agent said that while factories are still talking the trade down... Oh, you're talking to alpha cows. Okay. Well. One agent said that while factories are still talking the trade down, a lot of what they are saying is them just trying their case, because in reality they need all they can get. The beef industry is eating itself, I think. They created such a system where there are too many characters and the animals are switching too many hands here. in poker, half the battle is sussing out the mental strength of your opposition. They're talking about it like as if it was fucking poker. It's weird. You do this by introducing uncertainty, play hard and see who folds. Well, if somebody folds, so they're saying here, I think they're talking about the fact that the breeders, the elbow shit people, don't want to sell animals for a lower price, and that's what the other guys in the chain are demanding. But then they're talking about folding. Well, if the breeders fold and sell the animals for a lower price, they're not gonna get their money, and they might fold forever. You see what I'm saying? So the chain is too complicated to continue existing in this situation, and all this conversation is about folding is one-sided and near-sided. It's not thinking about the long term, is it? Because then they would get to a place where the breeders get the money they want, because otherwise they're going to stop breeding, are they? The fact, which is fine by me. The factories upped the ante by pulling prices 2 weeks ago and threatening further pulls. So again, what do they mean by pulling prices? Are they talking about lowering prices or upping prices? It's really incomprehensible. It's just absolutely impossible to understand what the fuck they're talking about, right? You have to like shuffle through context here. And threatening further pools in the hope that a certain proportion of fatteners, what a name, would fold as well and sell without too much fuss. These people are your like work partners. How are you talking about them like that? I mean, I don't give a shit, but it just seems like the industry is like gonna collapse itself. Given the level of investment it currently takes to buy stock for finishing, the factory's strategies of trying to frighten the bejesus out of men, as one agent commented, prompted a surge in farmers turning up with jeeps and boxes at factory gates, whatever. Some bigger finishers also chose to move a share of stock close to the knife a week or two sooner, so they're selling them earlier at lower weight. Jesus Christ. However, these finishers speak like this about sentient animals, then it doesn't register to them. They're just... It's amazing to me how they can speak like that. However, these finishers have been making money on the back of the rocketing market since last November, and that has made them pragmatic in deciding to sell to reduce risk and protect those earlier profits. Fatteners in the south were being told last week that they didn't take the grid price on offer. If they didn't take the breed grid price on offer, they would have to take a less this week. And even then, there was no guarantee they would be killed this week. While this strategy had some success for the factories last week, it's hard to see how it will work for much longer. Yeah, no shit, you're eating each other. Right, let's move on to Agriland. My favorite thing that I can never fucking understand. So this was total cold speak, right? I could not understand any of that. So I asked ChatGPT to summarize it. Oh, it's very small. I apologize for that, guys. I'm going to read it out though. The article from Agriland discusses recent developments in the Irish beef trade, highlighting a concerning trend where factory quotes have decreased by up to 0.30 euros per kilogram, leading to a widening price gap. Jesus, ChatGPT still makes no sense. Between Irish and UK beef prices, the situation has raised significant concerns among farmers and industry representatives. Key points. Price reduction. Factories have reduced beef prices by approximately 30p per kilogram, despite improving market conditions and tightening cattle supply. So somebody's trying to grab some money there. Price disparity, the gap between Irish and UK beef prices has expanded, with UK prices now exceeding Irish prices by over 60 pence per kilogram. That's frankly a lot. Farmer concerns. Farmers are expressing frustration. I can barely read myself. I'm sorry, guys. Expressing frustration, feeling that the price cuts are unjustified given the current market dynamics. So the price is on the up, so the farmers want. It kind of contradicts the other thing, doesn't it? The one that we listened to. So this is from April 22. Oh, so it's a bit earlier than this thing. So that's what preceded this stuff. Oh no, this is April 9. Interesting. So this preceded. So the war continues, I suppose. So they say also market outlook, despite the recent price reductions, there is an expectation that demand will remain strong and prices may stabilize to improve in the near future. In summary, the article highlights the challenges faced by Irish beef farmers due to recent price cuts by factories, leading to a significant price gap with UK beef. While there is hope for market improvement, the current situation has caused concern within the industry. I hope they go fuck themselves. Sorry. Once in a while, I'm gonna be spicy. It's alright. What are you guys saying? Well, Tony's fighting with Alphacaros. What else is new? Finishes, face moments. Yeah. I was like the stream first thing. Thank you. I appreciate you, Bianca. Alright. Tight beef supply sees deadweight prices soaring. Disgusting. Tight international. So this is Farmers Weekly. I think this is April 30th, so 3 days ago. I think this is the US already. Let me see. Tight international and domestic beef suppliers have said to be... Where is it from, though? Farmers Weekly. Let me see one sec. Let me see where they are. About you. Where is Farmers Weekly? About us. The about us is not... Fuck. People stop writing the about us. What? I just want to know where you're from, what your country is. Jesus fucking Christ. Let's see, market. Oh, I need to sign in for that. Jobs. Farmers Weekly. Well, where you are though? Where are the jobs? Guys, I have no idea. This is somewhere in the world. Oh, shit, I opened something I should not open. I should not close. That was supposed to be here. Okay. Anyways. Right. Wales. Jesus. Such a dumbass. I should continue reading. Where's the person who was supposed to tell me to continue reading? You changed your picture over the hill. Tight international domestic beef suppliers are said to be responsible for the near 40% increase in cattle deadweight prices in just 9 months, according to Wales Red Meat Levy Body, blah, blah, blah. So beef suppliers are said to be responsible for a near 40% increase. The price trend that you see forecasts will see the imminent breaking of the £7 per kilogram threshold, with beef prices increasing weekly. That says weekly, not quickly. I'm sorry, my pronunciation is shit. Strong prices, it says, are likely to continue as supply tightens, not only in the UK, but across Europe. Prime cattle deadweight prices in England and Wales have risen dramatically since 2024 and are now £2 per kilogram higher than the same period last year. The steer average broke historical records at £5 kilogram in September 2024, reached £6 per kilogram by February 2025, and given the current trends, could hit £7 per kilogram by late spring, Mr. Phillips said. Well, I hope it hits 9 and £10 per kilogram. Because as I said, I want the prices doubled. That's what I want. I want people to stop buying beef. Over the hill. Avocados is too much of a piece of shit to go vegan. Avocados, I was thinking of cooking up tofu today and eating it on stream while really enjoying it, because it's fucking tofu, just to trigger you. But then I decided I'm a grown up. I'm not gonna do that. Might do it next week. Maybe next week I'm not gonna be as grown up as I am today. EU beef prices have recently climbed more rapidly than here, narrowing the typical price gap around 94 blah blah blah. So this is boring. Throughput. You see it again, it's just like cold speak. UK prime cattle throughput for the first quarter of 2025 totaled in 508,000 sentient animals being slaughtered, down 3% or 14,000 animals being slaughtered year on year, with declines across all categories. Anyways, cost to consumer. While the Office of National Statistics highlights that inflation has eased for the second month in a row, shoppers are feeling the pinch. They should stop buying animal products like dumbasses, as consumer and businesses' costs continue to rise. Consumer experts Kantar report the total volume of retail beef sold during the 12 weeks to 23rd March 2025 was stable on the year, but an increase in the average price by some 5% drove the 4% increase in total spend overall. Jesus Christ, man. More detailed analysis, blah, blah, blah. So it doesn't... Okay. All right. So the consumer is paying the price as well. Well, they should change their habits. Avocados, how more expensive should the beef become until watch your beer and burn the pants? Nah, I'm a good cook. Avocados, how far should the prices increase before you stop buying animal products? I just want to find out how rich and how stupid you are. Beef profit tracker, choice steer price, averages, record, blah, blah, blah. Check out the sterling market. This is just going to be more stupid speak. That's the US now because it says in dollars. It's talking in dollars. Times 4. Wow. So it increases times 4, you become plant-based. I need somebody who can translate all this into natural language. we can understand this. So feedlot margins, a year ago it was $377.4. Today, April 26. So a week ago, it's almost not doubled, but that's a lot. That's a lot, isn't it? So, give me a sec. So 377. How do I find out? 377 times, I think it's, my guess is it's 30%. Jesus Christ. 377 times, oh crap. 377 times 0.3. I think it's 3%. Plus 377. No, it's closer to 45%. Times 0.45. Oh man, I'm just, hold on. So 377, I'm gonna show it to you, sorry guys. Times 0.45 plus 377. Yeah, that's a 45% increase. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. Choice steers, whatever that means. Feeder steers, that's the 12-month-old babies sold for feedlots. Have increased somewhat, only by $40. Blah, blah, blah. So everything, the prices have increased. Oh no, some of the stuff is decreased. Calculated break even against this week marketing. So the break even has increased. Decreased. Oh man, I hope they die. All the industries. I hope they all die. For real, for real. Oh man, I'm a dumbass. I don't understand any of this. But I think it's just bad news, isn't it? Fuck yeah. So this gentleman, Danny Sun, so this is an opinion piece from a farmer. He looks like a farmer. The American beef industry is in uncharted waters. So this is a global happenings. Ag columnist Danny Sun writes, for the last 2 years, the prices of beef have steadily rose, but so has input prices. Yeah, today both are at record prices and with the threat of tariffs. Farmers are mostly Republican, aren't they? And volatility of the stock market, it makes it hard to predict beef prices. Well, I hope it's going up. The supply and demand ruling today's cost of beef. Both those in the beef industry and consumers are scratching their head, wondering what the future holds. The American beef industry is currently in uncharted waters. For the last couple of years, the price of beef has steadily rose. Blah, blah, blah. So I think we understand the point, kind of, right? So, here's another thing. This is in the US again.
This is rural Texas, not Vegas. But out here, farmers...
You have to have a little bit of gamble to you, no doubt.
roll the dice daily.
You used to be at a $5 table. Now you're at a $20 table with maybe lesser odds.
Brian Upmore runs the livestock auction in West, and he raises cows and calves too.
Piece of shit.
Beef prices in the U.S. have never been higher. The number of cattle rarely lower.
We've got the fewest cows in the U.S. since 1961.
What's behind the drop? Drought made grass, their food, hard to grow. Inflation made everything hard to buy.
Cost of...
Let's go grass-fed, though. Let's go grass-fed, and let's grow grass-fed cattle in places like Utah, where they barely have water, or California, where they barely have water for the people, but let's give water to the cows so that we can produce beef and dairy. Right? It's the droughtiest places that raise cows for slaughter and exploitation, aren't they?
The feed, cost of fertilizer, cost of fuel. Once those prices start going up, they don't really ever come back down.
And high interest rates make cattle hard to replace. Farmers are making more selling calves at auction, but now they can't afford a new herd. And the next generation can't really afford land.
Kids look at the real estate values and they go, golly, Dad's place is worth $20,000, $40,000, $50,000 an acre, and and I might make a little money running cows, but I can sell to this developer for this much. Guess what? I'm out.
A new Texas A&M facility opens next week where genetic researchers hope to discover ways to increase livestock reproduction. In other words, help cows have more calves. Shoppers feel
I'm speechless. Because, guys, you could just stop fucking impregnating cows and grow oats and beans instead. Haven't we, well, no, I haven't read it on the stream, but there is an article about how the beef industry knew about their environmental input, and obviously they knew about the fucking exploitation and slaughter of cows, because that's their business, right? But they knew about the environmental degradation due to their industry since 1989, and they did everything they could. They paid so much money to obfuscate it, to stop the governments from telling the public to reduce meat and dairy consumption. Well, meat. And so the public never got the message that you probably should reduce that consumption, because I think most people kind of care about the environment. Well, maybe not in the US, because the place is full of dumb people.
all of this. The consumer
Sorry if anybody here in my chat are from the US, but I think you would agree.
price index puts ground chuck at a record $5.85 a pound, but they're still buying it.
Have we gotten to some big point where
I mean, the carnivore dieters are gonna completely go broke eating this shit.
lots of people change? We really haven't, and I think that's one of the surprising things in the market.
Farmers hope their costs somehow ease before consumers get priced out, because if they stop buying beef, all bets are off.
Seriously, guys, let's put our heads together and write a petition to the tofu and the bean producers and tell them to seize the day. For real. They should use this time to put themselves up as the fucking alternatives, right? The cheap alternatives. Yeah, a lot of people are not gonna buy into it, but a lot of people will. A lot of people will switch to the alternatives, the cheap alternatives, the actual alternatives, the tofu and the beans, right? Can you imagine them just like the way the pork producers did in whatever, the 1980s or whatever, the other white meat they declared themselves? Can you imagine tofu declaring itself the real alternative to beef? The breakdown of amino acids is incredibly similar. So why wouldn't they? Especially if they start actually like producing tofu that is already flavored in some kind of way. Holy shit. I could make people actually try it. And if it actually tastes good, because it's a curve to learn how to cook tofu and how to imbue it with flavor. But holy shit, they should seize the day, because they could have like a market increase in sales. It could happen. tofu, the real white meat. For real, Bianca. How do we do this? We should put our heads together for this. Maybe we'll do it on our next stream. We'll find a way to petition the companies to seize the day. For real. Clown was just, you can just eat more butter, too much fiber in beef anyway. Zero fiber is too much fiber, for sure. Don't get me started. Do get me started on the carnivore diet. That's funny, PJ.
In West, I'm Teresa Woodard.
Well, please, let's hear this again.
Before consumers get priced out. Because if they stop buying beef, all bets are off. In West, I'm Teresa Woodard.
This should happen. How does this happen? We should put our heads together for this. Maybe I'll contact, I don't know, Natalie Fulton or something. She works for some kind of organization that could make this happen. Maybe just like drop it on her. Or do something like that, right? Let's see. I don't know. Record beef prices. This is in the poultry side. Record beef prices persist amid herd decline. Pork and poultry gain ground. So they're looking at the bright side of this because people are stopping buying beef. They're starting buying pork and chicken, dead carcass. Yeah, Mike the Vegan, but can he help? He's more of a health guy, isn't he? I'm thinking about the movers and shakers. Maybe like Catherine Klein and Natalie Fulton. Would be a good idea to send them a message about this. Yeah. I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to write it out today and tomorrow. And I'm going to send them a message. Because they had that campaign, they worked on it together. That campaign to try to ban slaughterhouses, which of course haven't happened, but it was a good idea. To do it, just to prove it that you can do it. You can run the campaign. But this kind of thing, right? All you need to do is send the bean producers and the tofu producers, specifically tofu producers, to seize the day. But it's got to be written in a very specific way, I think. Yeah. Tofu Co. New slogan should be the tofu is the real white meat. Yeah. Yeah, tofu, anti-vegan as well. Or at least plant-based or whatever. I think if a vegan company or a plant-based company does this, there's more chance that they were going to do it and not going to close ranks with the farmers, with the beef farmers. Yeah. Yeah, let me think on that. Let me know if you have ideas. Tone, especially you're very smart. All right. Dairy faces exports headwinds, so record high beef prices and holding steady across the U.S. cattle sector, driven by ongoing herd liquidation. Liquidation means they're sending them to slaughter earlier, and the delayed rebuilding process, so they don't buy new baby animals, so they sell early but don't buy late, according to the Leicester Bank Quarterly. Despite volatility in cattle inventories, beef production has remained resilient. Buoyed by robust consumer demand. I don't know what that word is. Through the third week of March, beef production edged slightly above 2024. Well, it's the same information. We've read this already. Tariffs, I think, are gonna make it worse. Maybe. Tariff turmoil already having substantial effect on Australia's export beef trade. So it's like, Isn't it like number one or like one of the highest exporters of beef? Australia. Almost a month after Trump, I'm gonna make it bigger for you guys. Trump imposed so-called reciprocal tariffs on goods sold into the United States. Clearer export beef trade trends are now starting to emerge. Despite the fact that Australia runs a large trade deficit with the US, Aussie beef was hit with 10 PC import duty along with a host of other bottom tier countries. Recipe ideas. Well, there are enough places on the YouTubes where you can find the recipes. This is less of a place for that. Because we are talking about ethics, economy, shit like that. Tofu is vegan. So good. Tone. You wanna have a meeting about it? Let me know. Like old days. And by that I mean once or twice that we met on Discord and talked about God and shit. Maybe we can talk about this as well and like write something up to them. Propose. Just spam tweet to them. I don't know if that's a good idea. It probably would be better if the proposition is genuine. Guys, I need to pee, so give me a minute. I should make like a pee screen. I should do it one day. I should do it. What's up, Pia? How you doing? Tone. Oh, everybody's panicking. That's great. That's perfect. Kerry does the best panics. Oh, yeah. I know. All right. So, despite the fact that Australia runs a large trade deficit with the US, Aussie beef was hit with a 10 PC import duty along with the host of other bottom tier countries. The tariff war that's arisen from between the US and China has now made US beef exports to China prohibitive. Facing tariff of 147. I don't know what that means. China has already cancelled large US pork shipments totaling in 12,000 tons. The sentient beings are being measured in tons. US trade media reported this week. The result has been a sudden spike in demand for Aussie beef out of China. Although, as described further below, this in itself carries another considerable risk. Australia's April beef export, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm losing the will to live, basically. Yeah, I'm just gonna close everything. So, Guys, what do you think? What do you think this means? How do we conclude this day of reading? I don't know. I'm of two thoughts. So the tariffs could actually kind of help beef out, I think, somehow. Because then they would have to dump the carcass they already slaughtered, right? They would have to dump it somehow into the US market, and that would reduce the price. People would buy that shit, but then what happens is the question. Would the producers survive that? Because that was the newest news, the tariff shit, right? This is ongoing, the China refusing to buy animal carcasses from the US due to the tariffs. This could either create more turmoil or like a business opportunity for US. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm too dumb to figure this out. Anyways, that's all I have for today. Tone, you wanna meet up? You wanna talk about it? You wanna talk about writing to tofu? Anybody else want to talk about writing to tofu and telling them to seize the day, to gather ye rosebuds while they may? Such a thing. Chinese companies own a lot of pork production in the US, which means they can't export back to China anymore, meaning the US soy would need to go elsewhere, probably domestic cattle. So that would reduce the prices of feed, wouldn't it? But still fuck the farmers. Not just that, beef farmers have a lot of immigrant workers. Yeah, we talked about this last week, didn't we? It's worth... where did I hide it? I have it somewhere. It's worth listening to again.
It's going to go bankrupt in 2 quarters. Me and my husband owned a cattle ranch here, and I can confirm that all of the cattle ranchers here overwhelmingly voted for Trump. We support him. We voted for him. Something like 70% of our entire workforce is undocumented immigrants, and they straight up are not showing up for work anymore. They have all either fled the country, fled the state. They don't want to get raided while at work, so they have just moved on to work somewhere else. And straight up, we are gonna go bankrupt now. We are gonna go bankrupt, and yeah, we voted. We knew that the immigrants would get deported, and he was coming after immigrants, yet we still voted for it. Overwhelmingly voted for our own demise. I was talking to my husband last night, and I have to admit that it seems a bit foolish now when you think about it like that we voted for something that is now putting us directly out of business.
I hope
Maybe y'all saw the news out of Nebraska today.
I hope they all lose their business. And I know that sounds harsh. I know that sounds evil. But here's the thing. If I was alive during the time of slavery, I don't think I would shed a tear over a farm that would close because now they couldn't use slaves anymore. I don't think I would shed a tear over that. So here we are. Get Bianca's message across. I think Bianca should head the campaign. Bianca, you can join us, not with the voice because you don't like talking, but like just with writing if you want. I'm not gonna make you though. So after the stream is ended, we can have like a private conversation where we decide what to do and how to write it. That's awesome. They can get another job just like every other person who loses their job for whatever reason. True. I'm only Muse. I'm not a good person to lead any campaign. No, I'm not asking you for that. Asking you to continue to be a Muse. But you don't have to. It's fine. Right. I think this is a good place to stop this endeavor. I hope we can see this unravel as possible. What's up, Carrie? How are you doing? Sorry, you came at the end. Anyways, everybody, thank you very much for coming. I appreciate every single one of you. Yeah, and see you next time, yeah?